Okay. Yeah.
A sliver of sun, a trick of the trade, hole in the wall, edge of a blade.
Hello, and welcome to Open Studio, a podcast from the Arts Council of Princeton, spotlighting the creative minds shaping our cultural landscape. We sit down with the artists, makers, and creative thinkers from our community to talk about the work they do and the ideas that inspire them. Co-hosted by the Director of Development and Community Engagement, Liza Peck, and by me, Adam Welch, Executive Director. Open Studio invites you into the stories behind the art. Today, it is our very good fortune to be speaking with the one and only Chris Harford. Chris's roots in the Princeton arts community run deep, going back to the early 1980s when a vibrant mix of local culture, independent music, and community support helped shape a generation of artists. As a student at Princeton High School, he was already performing locally, and by the time he was in college, he was touring with his band Three Colors, playing across the Northeast and opening for acts like The English Beat and Bow Wow Wow. Those early years set the tone for a career defined not just by performance, but by a deep belief in the music as a shared, community-driven experience. Over the decades, Chris has become a central figure in the Princeton New Hope music scene, performing in countless venues, from Small World Coffee and John and Peters to festivals and stages across the region. He's collaborated with an extraordinary range of musicians, including members of the Henry Rollins Band and Ween, and has built a reputation as a songwriter, admired for his originality, independence, and his ever-evolving sound. His work has been recognized in publications like Rolling Stone, Billboard, the New York Times, and People magazine, reflecting a reach that extends far beyond the local scene. In addition to his music, Harford is a visual artist, with his paintings and mixed media works exhibited throughout the region. Whether through sound or image, his creative practice is rooted in experimentation, collaboration, and a constant drive to explore. More than 40 years into his career, Chris Harford remains a vital, evolving presence, an artist who has helped shape the cultural fabric of this community while continuing to push his work in new directions. So please join me and Liza Peck as we speak with Chris from his Soul Select Studios in Hopewell.
My time is water, my water is spilling. Reservoir run dry, my days are filling. My heart is a tunnel, my back is laughing. My tongue a funnel, my pulse in traffic.
I did.
I sent him
The song wise, yeah. I'm curious what you would pick.
I think you said one of the songs fucked you up a little bit, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the name of it now. I told you about it the next day. Was it Anxiety? What was it called?
Oh yeah, High Anxiety.
Yeah, it was High Anxiety, I think.
So like right back at you.
Yeah.
You got.
Yeah.
Candy.
Twisted Up on Candy.
Twisted Up on Candy. And I remember at first I was just like, okay, it's good.
All twisted up on candy. Twisted up on candy.
I'm hoping it just sounded.
Reaction on that one, he's like, but then I went back to it. And
I want that song to be a sleeper, like the creeps up on you or something, or gets in there.
Yeah, I definitely went back to it, and then
It makes me feel something that I think I'm not sure how to pinpoint it, but it like it's something specific that.
It was the last part that got me the second time.
Okay, the stuff we added.
So I listened to it, and then there was the music. I don't know what you call it, the interlude or whatever, and then your voice came back.
Yeah.
At the end, and kind of hooked me back because it became a different song. It was a totally different, right? Yeah. So you had the chorus or verse or whatever it would be, and then the musical interlude part, which trips you out. Takes you that allows you just to sort of. It washes over you, and then you hook us back with different sounding vocals. I don't know if it's muffled at that point. It sounds slightly different,
A
but
deep dive into this.
I know. Have we started? Is the show started?
the show started. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
Thank you,
Coolest place
guys.
on the earth.
It
today.
is. It is. We might have to do all the recordings here.
Yeah, they definitely need some photos to go with this because even just the pillows are cool.
Absolutely. Okay, so to get us started off, we have an easy question that we're going to roll into here. What is your favorite word?
My favorite word. Have you seen the viral video of the little kid in the back seat that says, "Ah, bullshit"?
Yes.
That's the first thing that came to my mind.
That?
Ah, bullshit. So I'm assuming AH. I wrote it down. AH. And then I don't know if you're allowed to swear on the podcast, so I came up with a second word.
Okay. Maybe we'll use both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to be in trouble if there's no swearing on this podcast.
No, there's
but
going to have to be some.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a legit swear word or that's a word you can use or kids can use it now, I guess.
Yeah. It's
Is
in
it
the,
like
it's-
starting with like all like
it's in the public domain.
You've not seen it. You've not seen the video. You have?
Yeah.
What's it
It's worth
response to?
worth
It is.
saying.
Okay.
You don't know, but the thing is, it's so universal. It's been used so many times since then.
You'll have to
So-
Google it when
Yeah.
we
It's
get
just fun to say, and it
fun
actually
to say.
very useful in a lot of situations. I find so it's just like wow.
a word you didn't know you needed.
Yeah,
And so you
or
had
just
it.
said, yeah, it just had the inflection, the way he says it. It's so precious. It's so perfect.
And this is new in the lexicon.
Okay.
This is
Sort
I
of
feel
new.
so aligned.
Probably feel like it's already 5 years old
Yeah,
or
that's
something, or
true.
6, and kid's probably a teenager now. But I wonder.
that's true.
nice choice.
The second word choice would be John, spelled Jawn, from the Philly area apparently, but it's actually Brooklyn. There's just a little controversy of where it originated,
Well, I'm not familiar with this.
You're
word.
not familiar?
No.
and that's because you're Midwestern,
Southern Virginia.
Southern Virginia, and you're not familiar.
Just like out of it. So
This word's unfamiliar to you guys,
Yeah.
John.
Yeah.
Okay, you have some work to do, a little research.
Yeah.
okay. You want to give us a quick overview?
It's a person, place, or thing. It's very general,
Okay.
so it can like
Okay, we're gonna
Your
insert
sh-
an official
you,
definition.
like your shoes. Like that's my John.
Okay. You're welcome. I mean, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah,
Is that the right answer to that?
it's generally a positive thing, my John. Yeah,
Okay. All right.
but yeah, check. We
It's
can
all
we can
changing
discuss
fast
this.
now.
The listeners out there who know John, maybe you guys can chime in.
Okay.
This
Good.
is great.
This is our John.
Yeah.
So it's
Now I have to
Philly.
learn something.
Philly owns that word. Like I said, there is some controversy, but
Could be
it's,
Brooklyn.
it could be Brooklyn, but it's a regional phrase. It's definitely a
Maybe
regional.
Philly needs it more than Brooklyn.
It's probably maybe,
Brooklyn's got it.
We all need-
going for it.
but it's a good word.
Yeah. Could be
It can mean anything you want, which is why I like it.
Nice choices.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to jump around here a little bit and ask, since we're talking a little bit about words and your interest in words, let me ask you, why do you still write songs?
We'll say messed you up. We won't use it.
No, it just makes you think. Like I had a progression of thoughts given the questions, but why I still write songs would be I'm still searching. I still want to try to write a good one, and I'm still learning and looking for a way in, kind of.
We should say in the background that Adam and I are both laughing, which you can't hear. It's because I'm still trying to write a good one. Yeah.
And I'm curious, do you see or elaborate on the distinction between writing a song, writing the music, and then writing the lyrics? Obviously, one is a linguistic thing. I mean, are those processes similar? Are they totally different?
I think that's why I enjoy my reggae dub project, Blanc du Blanc, because it's mostly instrumental, and I get to just be free with that without having to think
Not
about
being worried about connecting to the
connected to the
language.
words. And A lot of people recently have said to me, well, I need lyrics. I'm linguist at heart. I want words and I won't listen to the other stuff, which I get too. It's like, that's not for everybody, but it's a good question because of that, and it is very different. It's a totally different brain entering into the idea of a craft, like your song craft or whatever that is.
Fulfills different functions, right?
It does. Yeah.
Like you said, you're still looking to write that great song. And
I didn't even say great, just good.
Good.
Great would be amazing. But.
So,
I feel good about this coming your way. I feel like that's what happened.
do you feel like you've reached that point that you've attained that great song or the good song musically? You haven't resolved the poetic aspect yet, but do you feel like you've conquered in some way the music aspect?
No, not yet. I'm still a work in progress.
Does the music aspect seem more achievable?
They come together. It's one thing. It's not one or the other, really. It goes hand in hand. Yeah. You want to think you've written something good, and then, the days when your ego's flaring, it's like, oh, this is good. Or you want to make something that you would listen to yourself.
I feel like you don't have enough of those days. Like, you should have more of those days.
It's abstract, right? Because you don't get to listen to it from another person's perspective. Right. So the only way a songwriter knows is getting feedback from the listener, because then that's where the songs are alive, right?
Like you just got that full analysis.
Yeah.
Let me go back a little bit further here then and say, when you think back to your earliest days playing music in and around Princeton, what comes to mind?
Playing at the Hospital Fete and the YMCA, probably some of the most fun and successful gigs of my career.
Can you give us some context to the hospital gig?
Well, the Hospital Fete, if anyone remembers, Liza?
Yeah, I do.
Was just this strange, amazing day.
Right off of Washington Road, right?
Off of Washington Road, which has this crazy cemetery in the middle of it that's very ancient. So it was very creepy to go out to that cemetery and then come back as a little kid, back to the hospital.
It was huge.
It was huge. It was tents of there was used clothes and face painting and the spiral painting and the
any kind
books,
of food
food, and then a stage for music. So I saw all these great bands, local bands growing up there. So then to get to play there was like, whoa, we made it. It raised money for the hospital every year. A bunch of women put it together, and it was incredible for years, for 25, 30 years. It was a big deal. And then one year it just stopped. The university were like, no more. we're going to build stuff
around the time when they were starting.
Yeah, we're going to use this land.
And it was before they were I think it's before the soccer fields and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it was pretty raw.
Well, that's where it was.
Yeah.
So we got a little backstory on the hospital. Give us some years that we're talking here, and then also the YMCA. What was that?
Those years would be 1977, 78,
so
76, 70. I'm a kid, teenager.
Only a kid, yeah.
Teenager. We're in a high school band, Random Joe and the Strillards, with Sean Keenan, Jeff Shangle, and Jason Jones. And we were a good band. We played a lot around Princeton, parties, and yeah.
So was that the only band you were in at the time?
In high school, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. How long were you together as a band?
Probably just 2.5 years, probably.
And then just age, everybody drove.
Well, in Princeton, you're expected to go to college or somewhere, even though the bass player went off to the military and had a career in that. But yeah, it's something I feel like if the band had stayed together, it would have been a powerful force. Yeah, it's like the Replacements or something.
Were you writing music?
Yeah, we have original music. I have our first EP we've printed here at the label, and it has the hit Mormon Blues, written by Sean Keenan, who also wrote You Brains, that's on my major label debut, that someone just sent me a cover of, coincidentally, just yesterday.
Are these guys also still playing?
They still dabble in music. I'm sure all of them. Yeah, music's in their heart. That was a big experience for me.
So in 76, 77, what year in school? What year in high school were you?
So junior and senior year, I guess, in high school. Sophomore, junior, senior. I was playing as all those years. And so
was that your first band that you were in? Or was that?
Well, I guess real band had a name and stuff, and we rehearsed. Yeah, but there was other people I was jamming with, George Wirtz, and I think as a sophomore or junior. maybe as a junior. We were in like the student contest, whatever that is. Battle of the Bands. Battle of the Bands.
Excellent.
Yeah. We played Santana, Oye Como Va.
I was just going to ask you, what do you remember what you were listening to?
With Sim Kane on drums. Yeah, like as a kid, you grow through the Santana phase and the Allman Brothers, and I'm the youngest of four really, and then their record collection. So growing up in the 60s, so of course it's like the Beatles and everything, but that's a huge influence. And then when you hit, coincidentally, this is funny because I had dinner with my old friend John Keeney, who's a songwriter that I produced recently from Princeton. And he was saying although he and I are the same age, he got to skip a grade. So he said that between our two grades, I'm graduating in 80. He's graduating, I guess, in 79. There was a divide musically where his class was still into the Allman Brothers or whatever, Freebird, Leonard Skinner,
Yes.
The Dead, and then my class was into like two-tone ska, the Ramones, the Clash, like it all like was
Within 1 year.
Within 1 year.
Yeah.
Within 1 year. So I kind of remember that, and it was like that. So it's fascinating.
I mean, I feel like the sort of older version, the Allman Brother version, stayed as a ribbon through everything.
Yeah.
Along with some of the other stuff.
You guys will appreciate this story. I got an email a couple of weeks ago from Matt Kohut, an old musician friend of mine who's also local, and he sent the transcript of a dialogue I had from 1977 or 76 from these two other kids, Aaron Wolf being one of them. He was a documentary filmmaker. Does that ring a bell to you guys?
Yes, and you told me a funny story
and
about.
Did I tell you this?
Yeah, I wanted to say it was really funny.
And Peter Catoni, who I ended up playing drums with, but I'm encountering them at the fountain on campus. The way I read it at first, I seemed like I came across as like quite a bravado kid or like really intense. But I'm telling them about like what bands matter and why are they listening to like Led Zeppelin or something when they could be listening. I think I used the Romantics as an example and the boots that they wore. I got really deep. And, basically it was all about these bands don't care about you, but you should listen to bands that care about you. And it turns out it was a pitch for Random Joe and the Thrillers for them to come to a show. So I was that excited.
You wanted that to be their
I was
job.
really down on myself when I was sharing this to some friends here, and they're kind of like, yeah, you were kind of a jerk, huh? And then I spoke to Aaron Wolf, and he didn't see it that way at all. To him, it was like this major musical breakthrough, and we hadn't connected since then.
All these years.
He remembered it. He remembered it exactly, and he said it like was a huge deal for him. And it's so funny because the other kid I ended up playing with through Tom Marshall in this other band later. So it's all strangely connected in that way, like that whole scene from Princeton. When you talk about the early Princeton days,
Was that an interview that you did with these?
No, it's just Matt Kohut connecting these people. It's just like
Of all
friends.
the
It's just,
Chris Harford.
and then to connect with Aaron Wolf since then. What a fascinating guy. And like we're exchanging emails and stuff that he's written.
Wow.
And it's just like, that's really amazing. So
But
it's just
that
a
kind
funny
of
life story
speaks to all
about,
that sort of that wild creativity in all the
well, just how
different
I was
time.
so into it as a kid. Like, it was obviously like a huge deal for me. So that band that you asked me, it's funny that,
But it also seemed like there was an atmosphere that really welcomed that from you, that creativity and that sort of marinating and all of that.
yeah, that has to do with like being in Princeton too. And like the music that's on campus and yeah.
Since we're talking a little bit about that, let me ask you, what do you think it was about that period of time that inspired so much music, that
Great
inspired
music.
so much creativity in Princeton at the time? that
In
we're talking
Princeton
here?
specifically or in general?
Or just, let's focus just on Princeton, what you were involved with and this group of artists at that time period that came out of here.
Well, I found myself saying a lot lately is that there needs to be the great journalist to write the story of the Princeton music scene because it's deep on so many levels and there's so
Why
many
did you
people.
task Aaron with this.
Maybe I should. You hear that, Aaron? It's elaborate. And so like I start to think of all the people that I was watching, like the Roth brothers, Adam and Charlie Roth, and all these other musicians growing up. Regressive Aid, Sim Kane and Andrew Weiss's band, like it was fervent. And I think it has to do with what's in the water here, and that we're between Philly and New York, and we were exposed to all this great music on campus, literally, like seeing Frank Zappa when I was in second grade at Dillon Gym, and like, you know, you're like, what? And then Springsteen and Springsteen. I know that my parents would let that happen. Went with Jason Brownstein, Sha Na Na, and then see Springsteen and Jadwin and all that stuff.
There's the audience everywhere for it. So
yeah, but at that time, obviously too, like my favorite. I don't know how it is for you guys when you're 12 years old, or is that the period where music hits you so hard? But 72 is, I'm 10, I guess, is my favorite year for music. And I think it's a collision of the recordings, the technology at that time, and obviously the bands and what was happening in between the British scene and American rock and roll or whatever, like just the sound but I think it has to do with being a kid and it like DNA imprinting on you. I don't know if I think it's different for everyone.
All the things happen at once.
Yeah, it happens and then that's it.
Can we use the word John for that?
That's my John, yeah.
John.
Being between Philly and New York is an interesting observation. I think that seems to make a lot of sense. If you could write the 2-paragraph introduction to that book that you said, the genesis that needs to be written about the music scene, what would that 2 paragraphs be?
It's a lot to pack into 2 paragraphs.
Yeah, I'll have to think about that. Okay. Yeah, I'll get back to you on that because it's elaborate. It's multi-complex and like where to start.
Right, and there's probably a pretty fragile alchemy to all of it. Like you're saying, the music that's coming out, your age. Like for
instance, as you asked me that, all these people and names are coming to me. Buddy Miller, does that name ring a bell to you? So he was Steve Miller as a kid, and he was in this band Harvest that played at my sister's college or high school graduation party in our living room. Now he's like the musical director in Nashville. Like he plays with everybody. Robert Plant, Emmylou Harris. He's talked to Drew a lot. Oh, it's amazing. Right, because the parents know each other or whatever. And I met with him in Nashville recently, like just a beautiful human being. And like, there's an example of some kid who grew up in Princeton who has like these wild stories. And you talk to him and you're like, whoa. And then it goes deep. It's so deep. It's like that I'm glad I just thought of him because he's just one example of so many.
Yeah. Well, like you said, something in the water, because I can't exactly say that in where I grew up, that there was a flourishing music scene at any period of time in its existence, but you
what town was it?
This is in Burke, Virginia. Like there's some bands there and some musicians that are still performing, but
what about bluegrass or anything?
Certainly more out in the west of where I grew up.
Gotcha.
Where I grew up was kind of, everybody worked in the city.
Gotcha.
But I think that has to do with the culture that develops around that suburban community isn't necessarily conducive to, I'm not saying it's not, but it's not necessarily conducive to creativity. And,
right.
And so, is it that people in and around Princeton, in and around New York and Philly, right? So this is parents might commute to New York, to Philly, or be working in Princeton. And so you automatically maybe are more involved with the arts, more involved with the culture,
You're exposed more.
The exposure is a lot more heightened, and maybe it's not quite so homogenous as I don't have anything necessarily bad to say about how I grew up, right. But one might say it's more homogenous. But it was also a time, right? I wouldn't say that, although I wouldn't not say it, but I don't feel like Princeton right now is the youth, right? The young people aren't having the same experiences you were having in the 70s.
Of course, right.
And so what has changed, right? Because it's still the same place, right? And it's still the same experiences, kind of. But what's changed to, how come that well isn't as bountiful as it was when you were
and partly it could be as simple as just the amount of freedom.
Or is it not? Like, is it not? Are they not is there not a scene that's happening now?
We might just.
I don't know.
Yeah, we might not know.
I don't know. That's the thing, because there's so much great music happening. There's so many creative people, but I think it's the way it's disseminated. It's harder to tell, maybe.
Yeah, that's true.
Because there, back then too, there weren't that many bands. I mean, you were getting releases, but not as much music as today. It's just like so much music being uploaded every day. Everyone makes music. Everyone's in a band.
Maybe it's access. Maybe it's that everything's so available now, dissipates.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas everything
waters it down for what it could mean to people who are music fans or listeners or people who like to go see music live. And then, you got thrown the curveball from the pandemic. So then everyone's been different since then. That's 6 years ago. People are still kind of recovering from that, I think, and figuring out what to do or how to do things.
I bumped into Steve Earle, who was my neighbor when I was working in the city in Greenwich Village. And he lived next door. And I happened to run into him right around the start of the pandemic. And he said the culture was the first thing that left New York and during the pandemic,
Right.
So, I don't know, it hasn't quite recovered, like you said.
It bounce back differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trippy. Before we started there, you'd mentioned early songs off the EP that you had printed here. I'm curious, looking back, if there's one song that you've written that you could possibly save from disappearing forever, what would it be and why?
I mean, it's hard because he hasn't made a good song yet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's going to be a little trickier.
That's one of those crazy, difficult questions. Although I did have an immediate song that came to mind. So I'm going to say that one. I don't know if you guys can still hear me. The song would be Satellite Angel. And it's the first song. It's a song that in some way honors my father, and it's about my daughter. So it's very personal in that way for me. I played all the instruments, including piano, and it's recorded brilliantly by Greg Fry, who went to Princeton and used to be in a band called The Groceries, another band that was huge to the scene. And he ended up managing the band Ween, and he had a studio. He still lives in the log cabin up outside of Hopewell here. And he was brilliant. So that experience also has, early samples of literal satellite sounds. So that's my father bit in there mixed in.
Speaking of your daughter, Amanda, can you talk a little bit about how you work together, what her role is in
her role in working together as of late has been our label manager for our record company. Yeah. And she's excelling at coming into a crazy business and learning about it within like a year or two. Yeah, maybe.
That's really cool.
Yeah, very grateful to have her working, being here.
Looking back over the last 3 decades of music that you've been involved with, producing or writing, what do you feel you're still trying to discover as a songwriter?
I think that's the word where I was thinking the way in, like trying to discover the way in. Because, you can go through dry spells too, of like not writing songs, which had been the case for the last couple of years. And then to break through, like that song Twisted Up on Candy was something I had lying around that I had written several years ago. And I wasn't sure how to feel about it, kind of maybe like you did. I was like, is this a song even? It's so short. But that had been written on the spot. So you're hearing it as it's being written. And that had a certain something for me. And then some of your later questions too touched on stream of consciousness, which is, I think, might be a new development-ish in my writing in a way. So I'm exploring that and what that is and what that's bringing out. And that leads all to all the other stuff like the storytelling or the imagery and the visual art and all that stuff.
So when you find your way out of those drier spells, is it usually sort of a change in outlook on how you create, or is it more on a personal level in your life? Or
all of those things are involved. Yeah, like the process. And now that I have this amazing workspace too, like everything's changing and shifting, and you're like, okay, so, and then you end up using just something you recorded on your phone, even though you have this recording studio. You incorporate both, you're using your tools, and that's a testament to how good the microphones are in these phones now or whatever.
Now the dry spell, is it the songwriting, the lyric songwriting, the poetry that sometimes you have? I guess
it would be the lyrics.
Okay.
You're struggling with the lyrics and the meaning and the purpose because all that while I'm making instrumental music.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Like, what do I have to say? What am I saying? Who am I? All that stuff, all that fun stuff.
But we're making a distinction between saying something and having the meaning versus, the instrumental. You're not having a problem finding
The music's just there. It's
Yeah.
there. The music's no problem.
Yeah.
And the language is so much more intimate than.
Yeah, and you're confused too, because if you're doing it from when you're a kid, a teenager, and for me, it becomes like, you go through your confessional songwriting period, and that was a long period for me, and you don't even know it, you're just doing it because you're like, well, I don't know, like, and like how many songs about unrepented love it's like what? Like you don't even know it, you're just doing it, but it becomes, it's like this is a cliche, but like it's your therapy, it's your way of getting it out, right? So
Catharsis.
So then if you keep doing it, and you're in chasing this, like the idea of I want to write a good song, like, so it's like, okay, let me try again. Well, how does that person write a song? Or how does that song work? Why does that song work? And you study it and you're like, well, I want to try to write a song. And then you're like, well, what am I saying? What am I presenting? What face am I putting out there? Like, what is this,
And maybe there's a part of it that like when you're, using the word therapy, it's sort of like what part of this is going to resonate as therapy for somebody else.
I don't. You can't.
Just my own.
You can't even go there. Like that's
right.
That's not some. But what you
maybe
get.
That's what happens.
But what you get back from the fans. That's when you realize that is. But you can't. That can't be part of the process. Really.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you know?
Yeah. You can't. Like. You could never imagine that. Really.
Right.
Yeah. But I know what songs do for me when I listen to certain songs, or when as it like a preteen listening to Cat Stevens or Jackson Brown or whatever, like being like, oh, this is a confessional songwriter, or James Taylor. All that. As a young kid, you're like, whoa.
Sorry. I'm curious if you've had any experiences that you can talk about of a fan or a colleague, a peer, have an experience with your music and talk to you about it. Not as a critique, but as a, this song moved me for this reason.
I get a lot of messages like that, a lot of emails or messages through the social media or whatever. And it's amazing. And that's sort of what keeps you going, really. This song means so much to me, or we got married to this song. It's like, that song?
I mean, that's got to be.
It's wild.
Wild, fulfilling.
It's wild. It's cool. It's really cool. It's like, oh, okay. You kind of like, because like you said, I said earlier, you don't know what your music's doing outside of your head. When you're done, you're like, oh, it's out. And then it has a life of its own, but you don't really get to experience how people are experiencing it, or what it means to them, or if it's landing at all, or who's anyone listening, like all of that stuff.
Have you had a major contradictory experience where you're like, well, that's not what I meant, or that's not, wow, that's how you read it?
I mean, you do get definitely interesting perspectives, right?
And have you ever been really sort of taken aback by something that you didn't love that really caught fire, or the other way around, I guess? Something that you really loved?
Well, yeah, there's some songs after a while you're like, whoa, maybe I should have had an editor, like maybe not put that out, And you realize it's a process, and you try to be graceful with yourself and forgive, like, oh, I was just a kid then, like what? But then someone tells you, like, that's my favorite song, man.
And that's what makes it to the greatest.
Like,
Much of your life is so documented so clearly.
I guess, yeah.
I mean, in a way that is very kind of almost intrusive and intimate, and you can't really turn back on that.
No, it is what it is. So yeah, it's a vulnerable feeling, but it's the path I've chosen, I guess, or it's chosen me, really.
I think it's chosen you.
It chose me, yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting correlation, I think, of the viewer artist's response, right? Looking at a work of art and what the artist's intention was versus how the viewer sees it. I think that is a good segue to talk briefly about your visual art experience. Presumably, this is an experience that I'm alluding to that happens a lot more frequently with visual art. I mean, people can read a poem and have a different kind of experience than the writer, maybe. Well, certainly. But, with visual art, it seems to happen a lot more often. And I think it's because of the symbols we use, or the way we portray something, or the feelings that are going into it. So can you talk a little bit about your visual art, what you do, and why you do it?
Sure. I do the visual art. It's another part of the brain, I guess, and it's a chance to be peaceful too. I don't really listen to music. It's not music so collaborative and busy and loud. And then making the paintings are pretty quiet time. And it's pretty primitive. childlike stuff that I do. There's an argument like the music is like that too in a way maybe. But I've found my father's secretary saved postage stamps for me as a young kid. And by the time I was in my 20s or whatever, I had all these stamps and I didn't know what to do with them. So I started using them in the art as collage, and it's become my thing. And people give me their stamp collections now once they realize they're not really worth that much. So I've been in stamps for a long time, and I have fun figuring out new ways to use those in the collage and what they mean in terms of their little pieces of art themselves, and the space and time and countries that don't exist, or
And the
commerce, travel.
That time of life and your
all that stuff. And it's just an extension of that. And then the political aspects of what the stamps represent. And so it seems like naive folk art to me in a way. Like I was really into Jacques Hoffman's parents' Haitian art collection in their house on Wilton Street. Just the colors. And my mom brought these Eastern European painters from Yugoslavia for me to the house. And I would just love those, like these colorful, simple things. So that's been my thing, just to like, I've always doodled, always, just made illustrations or whatever. And it's just an extension of that. And then how it relates to the music is just that I think you want maybe someone to view a painting or listen to a song. And for me, it would be like, oh, that's beautiful. And then that would be it. That would be like, sweet. That's beautiful. Or like it. And it still can be, it's going to be sad or whatever. Something, just something to strike, something like that. So in those ways, they're similar. What you're trying to go after, a mood or a feeling, like a feeling both in a song and in a visual painting.
Do you create visual work as consistently as
I go in phases, and it depends on if I have a groove or my working space, if I can get it happening. But it has been always going on. But it's hard to do both at the same time.
I would think
that was the challenge. So I'm still trying to figure that one out now, because there's been so much music as of late.
Do they feed each other a bit, or do you keep them pretty compartmentalized?
They're compartmentalized, I think.
Well, I mean, they're different language, right? It's a different form of language. And so the visual art has one language, and with language, there's rules that govern it, right? There's rules and limitations to what you can express or what you can say within that language, just as music does, right? And just as songwriting would, like lyrical writing. And then you have the instrumental, right? And they all have those constraints. That's where the invention comes from, right? That is inventing or reinventing or reimagining or rewriting what has already been written in new and exciting ways within those constraints. And so you can see how each one of them has certain limitations, and keeping them separate so that you can think clearly, does seem to make sense. Like this has its time and place. I need to focus within this puzzle in order to work my way out of it. Can you talk a little bit about maybe the experience that you get from painting versus just instrumental music versus singing and songwriting? Different experiences that those invoke, or what part of your mind is fulfilled from each genre?
That's a good question.
I don't know if it's answerable.
I don't know either. I don't know.
It's a heavy one.
That's a big question, but it's interesting. It's like, is ADHD a term that came up recently? Is that a thing that we all have? Or
That's a good question.
I bring that up only because, is it a compulsion that you're doing this and feel like you need to live? Like, you just got to keep creating. Mm-hmm. It's either a painting or a song, painting or a song, painting or a song. Like you do that for years and years. It's a painting or a song.
Do you fall into one to make up for the pause in the other? When you had a couple of years ago, you mentioned going through a little bit of a songwriting
lull there. Yeah.
So were you able to backfill that with the instrumental? Were you able to backfill that with the painting?
Maybe subconsciously too. Yeah. Maybe that's part of it, because you want to keep trying to express yourself in some way, so you need to get it out.
Do you feel more sort of confident about your visual artwork, considering the fact that you've written hundreds of gorgeous, stellar songs, and you're still hoping that one good one comes up soon? I hope you're feeling a little stronger about your visual work.
I don't know. confident isn't a word that would come up necessarily. I do know I like others, some more than others, or I feel like they work better after I'm like, oh, the compositionally, or I get why that one works better. Like, because it's, again, the painting too is very instinctual and subconscious. It's not, I'm not a trained artist, you know, I'm not.
Do you feel like you have a better sense of what is going to be universally liked and appreciated more with the visual than with?
Well, I think in both cases, I'm learning that probably simpler is better. Keep it simple, really. And so I've noticed certain themes keep coming up with the paintings that people really respond to, whether it's like the stamps are representing leaves of a tree and people love their trees, the tree of life or whatever. Mm-hmm. You could add some birds to that. But then you have the stamps representing bricks and buildings. You have buildings too. So I've done a whole series of like the World Trade Center with stamps in them, with a plane coming in. So, you know, they're hanging at Small World Coffee and you're kind of like, sorry, you guys. But then within the stamps, you get really political with stamps of the Shah of Iran. And like, it goes deep. It's like,
especially if you're giving you from all different backgrounds, giving you stamps.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know how I went down that path, but.
And since we're talking a little bit about the painting and the artwork and interpretation, do you think that you can express things that are a little bit more private or personal than you can in music because it's hidden behind a layer of the symbolism? Like, would everybody come out and notice versus, oh, that's just, you know, a stamp that, you know, he's using in a collage, versus your lyrics, there's no mistaking the words you're using to express. You know, it's a different form of symbolism, but do you feel that the visual art gives you a little bit more privacy in a way?
Interesting. I don't know. I mean, maybe in that, yeah, there aren't, it's too subconscious. Yeah. It's too deep in there to know that answer, because I don't necessarily, you don't even recognize that there's so much of like yourself in it or whatever. Like you just, but years later you look at it, you're like, oh yeah, I mean, I can see it. Or
it's also, I think, because when you put the music out there, it's sort of out there and it can be going in so many different directions that you don't know about. You can't really keep track of it. Whereas the visual pieces, you have a bit more of an understanding of where they are, who's seeing them. So I think it could
you do and you don't.
protective.
Like, it's funny. I got an email today of a photograph of a painting I did 20, 30 years ago. And they're like, so I see people and they're like, oh, I have that painting of yours. I love it so much. And I'm like, oh yeah, which one? Because I have no memory. Sometimes you have no memory of doing it too. You see it and you're like, what? So that.
Do you ever have that with music?
What do you mean?
Something you're like, I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, that session. Yeah, of course. Yeah, by now. Yeah. But it's so fun to see the painting they have. Like, you're like, whoa, they have that one. I do remember that one. Like, and to connect them. But once it's gone, it's gone. Like, you don't know where it ends up. Right. And I've done
in one place.
I've done so many. I guess you hope. You don't know. That's the thing. You're like, whoa, where'd all these things go?
Right.
That's interesting. It is, you know, a lot of the time more of an individual experience one-on-one with the painting versus everybody can listen to the music simultaneously across the.
Yeah,
that's an interesting idea.
Do you want to ask Chris the question that I'll use the podcast word, messed him up?
Oh yes, I think that is a great question to ask. So, we
will say that is not the word Chris used.
No, you know, as a lead-in, I'll give you a little reference.
Are you saying this is to wrap it up? This is like,
no. I'm saying I don't want you to get away without having to
okay, gotcha.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think both of these questions, they work hand in hand. And I think that the first one inspired me to talk a little bit about the second one. But, I think Bob Seger referenced it pretty well in Against the Wind when he wrote, I wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then. You know, this is kind of like realizing that age and experience has a way of stealing our innocence. What would that be for you?
Yeah, so this is one of the questions that messed me up. And I guess this relates to me pondering if I have ADHD, because I had to read the line, I wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then, so many times.
Double negative.
And then, of course, I started thinking about Bob Seger and that song, and remembering that Rolling Stone compared me to Bob Seger. And he wasn't somebody I ever really listened to, but I know he has huge hits, and it's a pretty good song. I just didn't know it had this kind of depth to it. So I was like, what? My brain as the songwriter.
Yeah.
Is it? I guess.
In a way.
I don't know. I want to listen to the song. I want to listen to the song now. So what, the question is, realizing that age and experience has a way of stealing innocence, what would that be for you? What, my innocence got stolen?
Well, in a sense, now that you know something, there's ignorance. So another way to say it, right, is ignorance is bliss, right? Mm-hmm. And then conversely, the unexamined life is not worth living, right? Mm-hmm. So you have these two contradictory ideas floating around, and I wish I didn't know, how X made me unhappy. Now that I know that this is, I see. I pulled back the curtain. I see. And now I wish I didn't pull back the curtain. I see. So is there? It could be music related. It could be existential. It could be like.
I mean, it seems almost like, in a way, like just what you think of as growing up. When one day you're completely not self-conscious, and then one day you are incredibly aware of yourself in the world. And maybe when you're in that band as a teenager playing the Fat, you're maybe, still very free.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many layers to this. We talked earlier about the importance of words and what words are, the power of words, and this question is so deep and so heavy, and it's like really made me think about so many things.
We'll never get another podcast.
I started thinking, Mick Jagger went to the London School of Economics, and like they say David Bowie was a pretty good businessman. It's like maybe if you had learned something about business or taken the time, because now in my 6th decade, I look back and with my daughter and a little staff here at the label, like, oh, there's a music business and it's changing wildly and rapidly. Yes. And there's so much to understand and so many nuances and so many people in the stream. So the business of it is one thing, right? And then you create. And the whole time you're creating and you're putting the stuff out, but you're not really paying attention to the details.
So changing this rapidly, you could have learned a whole business that would no longer be
so you have to stay on it. So thank God I have the younger generations to help me with this. Yes. People like my daughter and Virginia and Sophie and John March and all these people like helping me.
That kind of also answers the second question. Had you known back then,
business
side,
that was, I guess, what I was getting at. The second question. That first question, I can't even wrap my mind around still. Until I listen to Against the Wind, I'll have some more.
Yeah, Against the Wind was just a catalyst to the idea, and it was actually.
Is that a big song for you growing up? Like, how did you pick? It was that one line.
It was the second question that led me back to the first question.
Gotcha.
But the first question is sort of like, what would I change in my life? What would I not want to know in order to be more happy today? Before I went into graduate school, I smiled all the time. But for some reason, I don't remember smiling quite as often after graduate school. And I don't know what it was, like if it was too much philosophy, too much theory.
You had learned too much about the world.
I learned too much. And, I spent too much time overthinking, like studying art, and you worry too much about, like all the, like you said with the songwriting, if you worry too much and think too much about what's the meaning behind this, ultimately what had happened was, like a lot of young people in art, I was expressionist. I was doing all this stuff and I was having the time of my life. It was just art for art's sake. And I was just doing all this stuff. So then I went to a school that was considered a postmodern school. Right. And so everybody was coming at me from an attack sort of position. I was in the defensive. They were on the offensive. Like, oh, why are you doing, this was in the 50s, 60s, like, it's not relevant today, according to them. And so all of a sudden it was like, I had to reevaluate why I was doing and what I was doing and why I was doing those.
At all. You had never.
I hadn't thought too much about it. Mm-hmm. And this goes back to the question: is ignorance is bliss versus the unexamined life is not worth living? Is there's something great about having a world unfold because your experience in the world is so much more filled, but part of the problem is when you lose the innocence, right? The love of just making to make, I lost track of. I've gained it back, but I lost track of because I became way too academic, and I think it was Charles Bukowski. It was like, sometimes you can get so academic, you lose the feeling. Part of the problem with, like over academic intellectualizing the artwork, I fell down the hole of minimalism and pared everything out, almost all the life out of the work. And though I love that work I made and I still sort of look at it, I lost something then. And, regaining it was great. So now, being at the Arts Council of Princeton and being able to work there and get involved with art on many different levels, not necessarily strictly speaking on an academic level, it's reignited that innocence. And so that is where question sort of came. I'm not a huge fan of Bob Seger. I don't want to keep saying his name. I felt bad leading with that because that was the only artist really I've referenced here. But I think that, that's a good line. And as in, the second question here is, if youth knew, if age could. I think that's an interesting idea. I wish I knew then what I know now. And that's what you were sort of talking about, is now I know the business act. I have a label, right?
Well, I still don't know it, but yeah. I'm in the process of trying to learn it. Let's make that clear.
But if you had that,
he's just hoping for good.
And
great.
If you had that as a teenager, right, when you were in high school with this group, if you knew what you knew now, then you might not have let those kids leave.
Or something, or the next level when I signed a major label deal, I might have had a better grasp of like what to do then, even just at every stage, yeah. But that I had to look up too. If youth knew, KNEW, if age could. I thought it was a typo at first. I'm like, what, what? I'm reading it again and again and looked it up, and it's getting credited to Sigmund Freud. I have it here in front of me, and that goes super deep too. So, yeah. Well, excellent questions. And I hope you ask them to every person you have in podcast with.
The older we get, the less energy we have. As that teenage kid that was getting that start, endless amounts of abundant energy, and you could process in your mind physically just like where you'd be. But it's like, youth is wasted on the young, right? That's another saying.
I would have been wise to have read more books, I think.
We'll quote him on that.
Yeah, well,
but not every book.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Next good question, I think, even though it's a non sequitur to what we've been talking about this last few questions, or maybe not. Let's talk about the Band of Changes. One thing that is unique in my reading, and maybe I'm reading them wrong, but you can correct me, is self-explanatory in the title, is constantly shifting lineup. And you've collaborated with many musicians from bands like Ween. What do you get from those collaborations? What do they bring out in you and your songwriting?
First and foremost, it's super fun. It's like,
it does just seem like
it's just so fun to collaborate and to work with other people in that context. Yeah. So it's a way to have some fun.
And without the monotony, right? Without the...
Well, everybody brings what they bring to it. I don't expect them to play it like the record. I want them to play what they bring to it. So it's individualized. Even though it's the same song I've been singing for 40 years, it's different because someone else is playing it now. And then to have people at a performance meet for the first time on stage, musicians that I may have been playing with for a really long time, but they've never met each other. So then that conversation begins, and their relationship to the songs that I've written, and then they're all playing them together. And it's a really fun energy, fascinating conversation to have with people.
And how great to be the conduit for all of it.
It's really fun. It's super fun. And people think I'm nuts, but I want a band like George Clinton and P-Funk. Like, I want 35 people on the stage. And they're like, well, then you can't pay anybody. Oh yeah, right. There's not enough mic inputs to have 7 guitar players. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, bummer. We'll only have 3.
Well, there might be something to be said for the rigors for what we were just talking about, is the academic, getting too rigorous, sort of you lose a little something. And perhaps there's a connection there to the rigors of studio life, the amount of energy and effort and dissecting of a song, what I presume it happens in a studio, all the different takes, all the different editing, all the sort of cataloging that goes on. It's a very different experience, right? One might look at that and say, because people, only you and other musicians that do, recording and run studios have that experience, right? Where we just appreciate the final thing. We don't pull back the curtain and see the amount of energy and effort that goes into that studio recording. And maybe there's something about the Band of Changes that allows you to have that naive, youthful experience every single time, because it is fresh.
It's fresh. It is exactly that. It keeps it fresh.
That's great.
Yeah.
This is kind of a strange question, and I don't know where it came from necessarily, but I think it's probably every interview has a question like this. Living or dead, who would you collaborate with in the Band of Changes?
Bob Marley.
Wow. I could see that.
Yeah. I mean, that seems pretty fun.
Talk about it. Explain it a little bit.
Well, I saw him play in Philadelphia in 1978, I want to say. And that is like my life before and after seeing that show. Seeing what
kind of venue did you see him?
It's funny because memory does a tricky thing. And in research, I thought it was at the Spectrum, but it turns out it was on the Penn campus. And they're like, I can't remember what it was called. I have it. I finally tracked down a tape of it.
And did it
like 2,000 or 3,000 people, like not the Spectrum size. What was your question?
Did you relive the experience?
Did you have the same feeling again? Did you feel it? Did you feel it?
Listening to the tape?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Yeah.
But I'm sure there was extraordinary energy.
It was crazy energy, and to see like, that's the first time you're like, this music means something to these people. It's not just like what the stuff I've been listening to. This is on a whole nother spiritual level. And just watching the drummer and like not understanding the drum beat or like what was happening for the longest time, or like the bass, like just staring at it being like, what is going on? And then you get to him and what he's doing and the way he's moving and singing, and Jesus, wow. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's spectacular. So we asked earlier when we were talking about the 70s who you were listening to, since we just talked about re-listening to the Bob Marley performance. What are you listening to now?
This new kid, Cameron Winter's heavy metal record. Are you guys familiar? Have you heard about this band Geese? Geese. It seems to be these precocious kids from Brooklyn, maybe even private school kids, who have this really good rock band that's just blowing up right now. And people are hailing him as the next Bob Dylan, the next thing. He's 21. He just sold out Carnegie Hall by himself, playing piano, singing. Wow. And I keep coming, and it was such a shocking entrance into my social media feeds. It seemed like there's something, why is this happening to me? And I'm not alone. Like many people were like, what? Like we were inundated with live performances, and it was like, this is eerie and creepy. And like, is this some industry thing? But then you're like, wait a minute, this band's pretty interesting and it's good. And like, wow, that drummer's amazing. Feels like a real band. But I went to his solo album and I keep going back to it. So that was why I answered that question as it is. Because there's so much great music and there's so much I couldn't really think of what to say because there's so much going on. And I could give you a lot more artists or references. But him in particular is just a fascinating case in society where we are right now in terms of like the marketing of it and like what's going to happen to these kids. And he obviously is onto something. I think it's like cilantro with his voice. You either like love it or hate it. There's a lot of words going on. He's got a peculiar voice, but it's fascinating to me.
And I know you were saying how it's like, obviously the landscape's so different in terms of how you find artists and how they find their sharing.
Right.
How is social media a big component of what you listen to and how you?
Yeah, sadly, it is the music business.
Yeah.
You know, our phones and our stuff in that way. But it is easy access to seeing it in different mediums, like seeing their videos or seeing a live performance or just people talking about it, you know?
Right.
It's like a wave of
From
people talking about it and
350.
being like, what? Yeah, it becomes this phenomenon that's, it's kind of out of control with them. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to this young band.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you should say this. It leads me to my next question is, you've been more than a performer. You've been a promoter, organizer, and cheerleader for other artists. Why has that always mattered to you?
That's another good question. I guess it's because, again, like I find a lot of enjoyment in the collaboration and working with other people and being part of assisting other artists to get their music out or their vision, and being part of a thing really just feels like, yeah, it's what I can do in my small part in a community or something.
Well, I think that there's your incredible, vast depth, knowledge of music world and being an artist is something that a 20-year-old, they don't have the context yet.
Right.
So if you can offer that, I think that's invaluable.
Yeah,
And it has to be human.
Yeah, I get that too, and you can't not do it. I think it's like it's sort of your duty, or I think it's like you got to open yourself up to the kids who are seeking it and around. Yeah.
Well, that's the difference between somebody that has education at their heart and somebody that doesn't. Your openness to listen to, after all these years, right? 6 decades of listening to music, well, I've heard everything, right? And so, but the distinction between somebody that is just focused on themselves, just focused on their art, and somebody that has the education component, the compassion, and that can listen to something, the youth, or maybe not just the youth, but listen to what somebody's doing and be open to what it offers. Be open
Especially
to,
like when you're talking about the sky, I can't remember much of that, how it's not falling into predictable category, but you're still very open to exploring what it is.
Yeah, it struck a nerve that I want to keep coming back to. It's fascinating in that way.
I mean, that's the beauty. Like, that's what you hope, that you're at this point in your life where that's still happening.
You're still open to it. Yeah, absolutely still happening.
I think if we make it this far, we're still open. Maybe we're
So listening to his record, you can tell that there's people in the studio who know, like whoever mixed it. You're like, you start to getting into that, like, how was this made? And it's sounding so good. And then it inspires you to like, made me want to record. Like, made me want to try to write a song in a certain way.
From a 20-year-old.
That's cool, right?
Yeah,
it's like, all right,
cool.
if a song can do that to you, then it's pretty fun. It's inspiring.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that answers my last question, was what gives you hope about the next generation of musicians and artists coming out?
Yeah, I guess it's that, like, to see kids, still write original music.
Taking some risks.
Yeah, and just like putting themselves out there. It's encouraging too, because there's more and more of it, I think, although there's less and less ways of maybe to get your music out there, or opportunities to perform or whatever it is. But the fact that they're doing it and they have things they want to say, it really gives me hope.
And it gives you energy.
Yeah, I guess it gives me some life, some sustaining life force. Yeah.
Now we know what to listen to.
Yeah. Excellent.
We'd be remiss if we did not talk about Anne Reeves and the history of the Arts Council and what that did to my early career.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Because that was essential to the Princeton music art scene for me. Because I'm of the age where I saw it happen. And, my dad is godfather to their kids. So, like, our families are really close. But to watch...
And we saw your daughter there when we went.
Right. So, like, there's a photograph of me at an easel painting, and it's Anne Reeves's backyard. Like, and she's, along with my mother and my father too, who were like encouraged that kind of thing. She always encouraged, like, go paint, go play music. Like, she was psyched, right? So then she starts the Arts Council, and I miss the fact what that building was before that. And I'm reminded later what that was. And then that whole street, and like, you guys have put out the books and stuff. So you're just like, what? Like, this is so heavy and intense in itself. By the time I'm playing in bands, and it's like, you can have this place either for free, or it became $5. And then, you know, my college band, Three Colors from Boston, would come down and play that room. And like, it became like a circuit. And then, of course, there was the whole underground punk kid scene that did day shows there and stuff. So it was a vital place to know that in the center of Princeton, you could have the space to go rock out and get your friends there. So props to Ann Reeves
nice
and to start the thing that you guys are carrying on, you know?
Well, I think when you talk about that sort of chemistry of all the things that have to be in place, you certainly need a space.
Yeah, and then and the whole Art People's Party thing, like doing that, and that was huge in my lifetime. And going to see like what's the kid's name who could play like the Led Zeppelin records backwards? He played with his thumb, Ray Brower, and he would be playing like on campus as part of the Art People's Party. And he smashed his guitar and he threw it out in the audience. There was a big scuffle for it. And I think Mike Miller got like the body and someone else got the neck. Ray Brower would sit in Palmer Square and play. And it was just incredible. Like that kid was incredible. Again, through the Arts Council, because the Art People's Party was that. But that was also at a time maybe where it was like the relationship to the campus or whatever was different, because those shows were in that pagoda that's now by the lacrosse field or the soccer fields. You have huge crowds down there. Like you couldn't see that. That's before they put it on Nassau Street. When they had that, there was a big, when they were building the library, a big wooden thing that was murals were painted on, right? I have to know that I guess there was a film about that or something, or, and that was a lot of Vietnam protest stuff on there. And like, it was such a fervent, like vibrant time, energy wise, all fueled by the Arts Council of Princeton, really.
In the room,
You know?
right? And that energy that
I can't, no.
You know, you
No.
can't, yeah, you can't replace.
You guys know who it is. There's somebody out there. You'll meet him too. I've come across this kid, Josh Danson. Josh, if you're listening, I think it's you.
we got you, Josh.
Got you, Josh. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Chris, you're the best.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you
Thank you
guys.
so much for sharing this really amazing space.
You're welcome.
And your wealth of knowledge of what was happening, and to keep that alive.
Give me a second to try to find this EP of my high school band.
Yeah.
You got to at least see the picture.
Yeah.
All twisted up on candy, I'll find you in your sleeping den. Narwhals and rhododendrons swim upstream. In Conway, Arkansas, soon after the Twisters came, Sherry and I were camping out in a Walmart parking lot.
Thank you for listening. Open Studio is produced by Adam Welch and Liza Peck. Editing is by Adam Welch. Original score by Chris Harford. Special thanks to the Arts Council of Princeton crew. I'm Adam Welch.
An American Idol sang himself to death on the 21st of June from a broken eye.